Welcome everyone to Brickwork Ratings Web Conference Series 3. This is part of the 3 series what we just had. We started off with a session where we had eminent macroeconomic economists coming onto our panel discussion and sharing the views about the impact of COVID-19 on the economy, and then following up with the various sectoral impact and seeing how deep the impact was. We followed up with that series or that session with a panel discussion with the non-banking financial companies, where we discuss about the impact of the COVID-19 on that sector especially. And if you are tracking the events in the industry, that's a segment which is majorly hit. And we can see that again the moratorium 2.0 creating newer revenues in terms of credit issues for them. Well, today we have joined for discussing a very important subject, which is more related to our consumption, and mostly also which impacts our day-to-day consumption factor as well. This is rice, of course. So it's a very important staple food for Indians, along with wheat and other cereals. So today we have a very eminent panel with us to discuss about the impact of COVID-19 on rice. And we will discuss various aspects related to demand and supply as well. So in this panel, we have our own in-house, rice producer specialist, Piyush Midha. He's an analyst with Brickwork Ratings, and he will share his views in terms of the agency's views in terms of how are we seeing the sector. So the start of the session will be with a brief presentation in terms of the credit events around that. Then we have a very eminent panel today, and I'm honored to in fact introduce each one of them. I have Mr. Jay Gupta, the Chief Executive Officer of Supplitech with us. Namaskar, Mr. Gupta ji. We also have Mr. Vijay Sethia, Chairman of Chamanal Sethia Group. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, namaskar.
Yeah, we have Mr. S.K. Sharma from Shiv Shakti Interglobe. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar.
And finally, we have a very important panelist today, Mr. Keval Singla, General Manager, Punjab National Bank. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
So with this, I would like to hand over the session to Piyush to take us through what at the agency we are looking at, how these few months have been for the sector, and how are we seeing the way forward from here. So over to you, Piyush.
Yeah, thank you, Satish. Good morning, everyone. I'm Piyush Midha, and today in this session, I'll be speaking about the domestic demand and exports trend. So how it has performed over the past 5 years, and we'll also be looking at the current performance and the outlook for this year. And in the second slide, we'll be discussing about the impact of COVID-19 on this sector. And after that, we'll be also concentrating more on the basmati and non-basmati exports. After that, we'll be also doing an outlook on the basmati exports. So we have done the quarter-wise estimations, so which will give us a clear idea about the basmati export for this year. And in the last, we'll be discussing about the credit profile of those top 30 exporters, and we'll get some key insights after looking at analysis. So let me just go to the first slide now. Can you move to the first slide, please? Next slide. Yeah. So here in this table, we have highlighted the domestic demand and as well as the export numbers of the previous 5 years and the current FY20 estimations and outlook for the next fiscal year. So as we can see in this table that the domestic demand remains stable during FY20, and even over the past 5 years, it is showing a steady growth. The production numbers also has shown a very good growth, though I have not highlighted the rice production in this presentation, but the rice production also has been risen from 69 million tons in the year 2006 to almost 102 million tons in 19. So it has registered a CAGR of 3% during this period. If we'll talk about the FY20, FY20 is also, we have seen a record production of 117 million tons. and we are also expecting the same growth will continue in FY21 as well. So despite we having a high production, stable domestic demand, our overall exports were declined in FY20, and that is mainly due to the negative growth which has been reported by the non-basmati segment. So though there was a negative growth in the exports, we are expecting a moderate growth in FY21. So the reason of estimating a moderate growth will be discussed in the later slides. So now we can move to the next slide. Yeah. So in this slide, actually, we have discussed about the COVID impact on the rice industry. So if we see in the domestic market, we have witnessed some panic buying by the householder. COVID-19 has caused changes in the consumer behavior, because since there was uncertainty amongst the people that this lockdown will continue till what time, there may be some supply issues. So due to this, the people started buying in bulk quantities, and which basically resulted in increase in domestic consumption for the month of March and April. And since we also know the rice is considered under the category of essential items, the rice mills were also remain operational during this period. So even though the domestic demand was increasing during this period, the supply chain remained disturbed, because almost 90% of the trucks remained off highways for the 2 weeks. There was also a shortages of labor, and even there was also a shortage of packaging material, because some confusion was prevailed in the market whether the packaging material is considered to be essential or non-essential in nature. So due to these issues, we have faced supply chain disruption. And our estimation is that overall domestic market remains neutral during this lockdown period. But if you look at the right hand side of the table, the export market is adversely impacted. Iran as contributes almost 30% of the total exports, and since Iran was severely impacted due to this virus, and coupled with the payment settlement issues which we had in the last fiscal year, so overall exports remain negative for this quarter. Apart from the demand side issues, we also saw supply chains being disrupted in the exports as well. There was a shortage of labor at the port. Logistic issues were also being continued. Non-availability of cargo containers at the port was also made a major problem, because since we were dependent on China cargo containers, as the import was not there much from China, so we couldn't able to have sufficient cargo containers for shipments. So due to these factors, resulted in supply chain disruption and overall negative growth in the exports in this quarter. So now we'll move to the next slide, please. Yeah.
Sorry.
So here actually we are looking at the exports market more carefully. Since we saw that the domestic demand was having a decent growth, so we have concentrating more towards exports, because it had shown a decline in FY20. So let's concentrate on the export segment now. So if we see on the left hand side, we have shown a trend in the basmati segment. And if we see the basmati, there was a marginal decline during FY20. And the reason for decline is because the demand from Iran remained low in FY20. Though it was compensated by increase in demand from the Saudi Arabia and other GCC countries up to some extent. But in terms of value, if we see, there was a sharp decline in basmati exports. It was declined by almost 4,000 crores, from 33,000 to 29,000 FY20. In terms of value, it has declined because there was some price correction due to the low exports demand from Iran. However, if we come towards the non-basmati table, we can see that this segment has reported a very negative figures during FY20. In terms of value, it fell short by almost 6,000 crores, like from 21,000 to close to 15,000 during FY20. So non-basmati exports declined mainly on account of the high MSP which were levied in India. So this resulted a stiff competition from the other countries like Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, which were selling at a very cheaper rate as compared to the Indian market price. So this led to the non-basmati exports decline during FY20. So despite being a bad year for non-basmati exports, we are still expecting some revival in the current financial year. And the reason for increase in non-basmati is because now we are getting some new buyers from countries like Malaysia and Philippines. We are expecting that orders is expected to come in this year from these two new countries. And apart from this country is Benin, which is an African country, and Nepal. Both the countries remain the top exporting destination for non-basmati. So we are expecting a rebound from those countries also in FY21. So overall growth for non-basmati, we are expecting some moderate growth, and we have also done the estimations of quarter-wise growth, and which will be discussed in the later slides. Yes, so now we can move to the next slide, where so here basically we have highlighted certain demand and supply hurdles which are there in this sector during this period. So on the left hand side, we have shown the what are the reasons of showing a degrowth in demand during this period. The reason is mainly because Iran continues to remain uncertain after experiencing a negative results in FY20. Basmati exports to European countries also declined significantly during FY20 due to stricter pesticide regulations. And we are expecting the farmers might take much longer time to produce the compliant paddy for this market. So for European market, we are still showing a negative growth in this financial year. Non-basmati also reported a negative numbers in FY20 due to high MSP. And though we are expecting a revival in this segment also from H2 FY21. So talking about the supply hurdles, there were certain issues which were there in this period. For example, there was a shortage of packaging material, which I've discussed in the previous slides during this lockdown period. So apart from this, there was an unavailability of the containers also at the port. Shortages of laborers were also been witnessed, because recently we also came across with the news that in West Bengal the labor cost has gone up by almost 50%, because the migrant laborers has gone back to their homes due to the fear of spreading coronavirus. And also the instrument which is used in sewing are also not ready available, because the factories which manufactures them are not working at the full capacity. So considering this, we see some challenges in terms of supply during this period. So now coming to the next slide. Yeah. So here we have done some estimations of the quarter-wise growth for the basmati exports specifically in this slide. So as we can see in this table, we can see quarters on the left column, and the second column basically shows the average demand for the past 3 fiscal years for the corresponding quarter. So third column, we have shown the growth indicator for each quarter, and these colors basically is reflecting the intensity of the growth. For example, the red signs shows the negative growth, and yellow is a marginal and moderate growth, and then green will be the positive growth. So looking at this quarter, first quarter, due to this COVID situation, we have expected a negative growth in terms of volume and value both. Since there was a worldwide lockdown, supply hurdles is also there. So due to these issues, we are expecting a negative growth in this quarter. We are expecting some corrections marginally in second quarter, because now we have seen that the lockdown has been lifted up in almost all the countries. So considering this, we are expecting some marginal growth in FY20, though in terms of value we'll not see a better number, because the prices were very low during the last quarter of FY20. So we are expecting that those prices will continue in these two quarters. So in the third quarter, we are expecting a moderate growth in the basmati exports, because assuming that demand from Iran will rebound, Saudi Arabia with other GCC countries continue to provide a regular increasing orders, and a reduction will be there in the panic which led to the normalization. So we are expecting that some rebound will happen in the basmati exports from the third quarter onwards. So talking about the demand for the last quarter is always remain high for the exports because the festival periods arrives in the Gulf countries. If we'll do the weighted average of all the quarters, we have came with this number, which shows that the overall growth in basmati exports is expected to remain somewhere at the same level or may increase by about 2 to 3% in this current financial year. So we'll move to the next slide now. Here we have done analysis. We have done some sample analysis of top 30 exporters, and which contribute almost a turnover of 31,000 crores. So having a market share of almost 60% of the total exports. So we have done a dispersion analysis by taking two important indicators. One is the interest coverage ratio on the left hand side, and the leverage is on the right. So if we'll first concentrate on the first column on the left hand side, interest coverage ratio column, we can see then the first table, almost 2/3% of the companies are having ISCR of less than 3.5x. This lower number is very common actually among the rice millers, because due to the aging of rice, their inventory holding always remains high. So which basically results in higher borrowing costs and thus impacted their coverage ratios. So these companies are also reporting a very high debt. If you see the third column of this table, almost 68% of the total borrowings of the top 30 exporters being contributed by them. So these companies are also having a very high debt. And coming to the second table, we have arrived with a similar conclusion that if we see that almost 76% of the entities are having leverage higher than 4. So interesting thing can be seen in the second column, that almost 9 companies which are having a higher leverage of more than 10 are reporting the lowest turnover as compared to the other remaining entities. So our key takeaways from this analysis is that that 11 of the companies which are basically having ISCR of lower than 3 and the leverage of higher than 6 are likely to face some difficulties in the current operating environment. We are expecting that input cost such as interest cost due to delayed shipments, labor cost is expected to rise, which might put some pressure on their margins. And these companies might require immediate liquidity also, because to meet their working capital requirements and to sustain the operations during this period. So though we are expecting a bad time for these companies during these 2 quarters, we are also looking at the revival of exports from S2 FY21 onwards. So expecting that the exports will revive from S2 FY21, and coupled with we are also expecting that the selling price of the basmati will going to increase. So these 2 factors will remain the key sensitivities for these companies to survive in the remaining last 2 quarters. So yes, in the last slide, actually we have come to the last slide, please. So here we have highlighted the logo of those exporters which has been rated by Brickwork Ratings, and they come into the category of the top 10 rice exporters. So yes, so this is basically our outlook. By summing up this presentation, we are basically expecting a moderate growth in the next 2 quarters. We are expecting that the older times will come back again, and so let us hope other panelists will give more insights into this, that what they are expecting with this industry. So I thank you everyone, and I'll hand it over to Satish now. Yeah.
Not getting your voice, Mr. Satish. Your voice is not.
So I hope you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. So I was saying thank you, Piyush, for that insightful views on the sector, and especially I guess covering all the points what has happened during the lockdown period and also the impact of COVID-19. You ended your presentation on a very optimistic note, where we have said that how we are expecting the revival from FY21 onwards. So on that note, I would like to come to my esteemed panel here, and I would like to start with the first question to Mr. Jay Gupta, CEO of Suppletech. Sir, Piyush just mentioned about the various challenges which as an agency we have seen in the sector. But according to you, you're on the ground. What are you seeing? What are the basic challenges? And how is the overall reaction of the rice exporters like yours? What are you doing to overcome those challenges? So over to you, sir.
Morning to all. The use has done his analysis up to the shipments export up to the merchant. When we see the export after March, April and May months, there is a significant increase in export. If you see, there are the major markets for export in Saudi, UAE, Iraq, Yemen, US, Europe. If you see all these markets, they have imported more in comparison to the last same period. If we see, and from the food security point of view, many Middle East countries are also buying the more rice. And if we see the production volume of 2019 crop and 2018 crop, 2019 crop production volume is more in comparison to the 2018 in the basmati sector. And I don't see there will be any carry forward stock in the coming. Also from the export point of view, and if you see the export volume up to the in comparison to last year, there is a decline of 1 lakh metric ton. In the last season, it was 4.4 million metric ton. Now it's 4.3. But this 1 lakh metric ton has been covered in April and May. I don't see there will be the much fall in the export in the basmati rice sector in the coming months. In the domestic, if you see the total size of the basmati rice sector, total export volume is 4.3 to 4 million metric ton is export, and 1 to 1.5 million is domestic. There is certainly the depression is in the domestic market now, and which may continue depending on the COVID-19 situation. And it will continue maybe September, maybe October, and it depends on the COVID-19 situation because the foreign market domestic is totally different. Overall, in production, and if we see the seed sale pattern, and it's not bad in the basmati rice sector. So far, the seed sale is good, and I don't see much decline in the production in the coming season. We are quite hopeful the COVID-19 situation gets better in the coming 4 days, and I don't see there will be an issue that domestic market. Secondly, there may be the pattern change of buying of consumer. And pattern rice mill and the companies should prepare themselves. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, on that note. I would like to come to Mr. Setia. Mr. Setia, if you can unmute your line.
Yeah.
Sir. So,
Yes.
Mr. Gupta gave an overall view about what is happening in the sector. But I would like to come to a very important point, is that the government has also taken a lot of steps in terms of, either by way of increasing the MSP or, by lifting the produce by PDS. And I guess that is one focus of the government in terms of, social distribution, and also increasing the giving direct benefits to the citizens as well. But what do you, as per you, think that how these measures really effective for your sector? If yes, how is it spanning out? And if not, what are the additional measures you would expect from the government to come up to address these issues in the sector?
Okay. Uh, to be very honest, uh, take it in government in favor or against, but any government, whatsoever they can do for their country or people, this government has tried. I'm not trying to appreciate government on this thing. We can say other things, this can be done, this can be done, but this is a new experience where government has to deal with such a disaster of such a magnitude, where and things went out of control also when our some people started moving on the roads. Otherwise, the lockdown was to, to train the people, to educate the people how to live with the coronavirus. So now we have to live with the coronavirus. We have to accept it. This is a reality today in our life. And when I look at rice industry, I have one concern in my mind. Wherever even a one person gets the symptoms of corona are detected positive, your office, your factory, or your ports, everything will go for sanitization for 14 days. So this is something in a complete chain from factory, then through the logistics, at the port, at your CHA office, and with your customer. Anywhere anything goes wrong, whole chain get disturbed. This is one fear. We have to take this challenge through digital export systems. But certain areas where physical importance and physical presence is required, I think this is a risky area, especially a labor-intensive industry like rice. A single case can put your rice mill or your rice industry under the lockdown. This is one worry. And second thing, the government spoke to the industry. They realized that exports and our economy should work. So they have given us a lot of facilities. They changed the rules. They started uh, digital certification system. You are sitting at your place. You can get lot of certificates which you need for your export purposes. So that is welcome steps. And whereas I look at our export potential of this industry, exports, though they got a setback for a short time, and after looking at a sudden spurt in the demand because of hoarding, and now there is a slightly lull period. In certain areas, entire hotels like Maharashtra, everything is closed down. So the catering from the hotel industry is fully stopped. So what I look from my sales of 100% to the hotel industry, it has come down to just 5 to 10%. So these changes I have seen, but by and large, uh, in export demand for basmati is good. And I'm not expert on non-basmati, but I can say one thing, that with the countries becoming cautious of making their own buffer stocks and putting some restrictions on exports like Cambodia, Myanmar, and Vietnam, and Indian non-basmati prices are on a lower side. That's why, as you rightly said in the presentation, I think this is an excellent presentation. I must congratulate. It is very close to the reality from a professional. This is a good thing. We at the ground, we can just add few things to that. So what I look at in non-basmati possibility is there, because Indian non-basmati prices are on the lower side. So we are surplus, we are carrying a buffer. Definitely, government to government export is possible, and certain concerns I have in my mind. The crude price is going down, and purchasing power in Middle East if gets affected, this can affect our exports. After Iran and mid Europe, this another factor is keeping a concern in my mind. Then what I'm looking at is we are looking at so many turbulence now, and what I'm seeing is the third world war is going on a very low intensity. The wars going in Middle East, they are not fought by those poor countries. Weapons are coming from two big powers and they are used there and tested against each other. So these games are going on and nobody knows where it will escalate and where it will go down. So COVID can affect economies uh, because our mindset has changed. Our aggression for development has slowed down. So these things will definitely affect the total progress of any industry. But rice being a staple food, I think this will, by and large, it will maintain its exports and domestic consumption, productivity. Whereas in your slide, the labor point was taken care. In Punjab and Haryana, I think local laborers will be now more efficiently working. Definitely, they will be expensive as compared to the migrant laborers. And in the fields, so I'm also into agriculture. What I have observed for paddy sowing, last time we were paying 3,000 rupees per acre for paddy transplant. This time it can be 3,500, or it can go up to 4,000 like that. So this increase can be from 15% to 30% increase for the labor cost. That is also well documented in your presentation. So this could be, but by and large, paddy sowing will be there, and still farmers don't have any other option from paddy and rice. But what I can see is this labor shortage uh, can then the paddy sowing period would get longer. That means the non-basmati period will be short, and basmati varieties, they are sown at a different times. So basmati sowing will, by and large, will remain at the same level or go up. So this is my assumption, and it will be seen later. So these are my views. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Zetia. Well, that's a very holistic, update about what's happening in the industry. But I guess one aspect in this sector remains unresolved unless and until we address the core issue of exports. Because if you look at the exports bill contribution by this sector, it's quite enormous. So I would like to come to my next panelist, Mr. Sharma. Mr. Sharma, in your experience, what has been the trend? And if you look at from the trend itself, what Piyush just mentioned in his presentation, you would have seen that the over reliance on Iran and the Gulf countries, or the GCC, what we call, is there a shift post this COVID that we are looking at newer markets? If yes, what is the strategy behind that? And how do you see this sector overall from an export perspective?
Mr. Nair, the bottom line is how you convert the eventualities into the opportunities.
Right.
Of course, COVID has done a great damage, but still, if you take it as a challenge, as we have taken, see, you can say that in the factory on production level, we have to keep the social distancing among the labor. Fine. This means now that there will be lesser labor available with us as compared pre-corona circumstances. What you can do, there are a lot of units which are ready to leave their factories to the bigger players. Just catch those 2-3 factories and put your labor, which is surplus now because of the social distancing, and you can hire those factories and start the production in those factories. That is one of the, you can say, remedy for that. Now you can talk regarding the loading and unloading aspect, because you can cover the production like this, then how you will send the cargo to the ports? That is again a big question. Okay, that is there, but we all know a lot of ICDs are working, good number of ports are working. Spread your volumes to different ICDs and to different ports, so that you should not be stuck up if you are working with a single port and there is labor, not much labor available there. So that alternative you can also decide. But I am saying this is not the panacea. This is not the panacea, but definitely it will absorb some of your difficulties. You can do that. Now, if you talk about the marketing, as your presentation says, that there will be lesser demand because the people are not taking so much food and all these things. But we all know that under such type of circumstances, as our Prime Minister has also said, that it is a curfew-like condition. He has said, very well he has said. If you have seen curfew, what will happen when curfew is there? It creates artificial demand also. Artificial means, I am talking about myself. I always keep 10 kg rice at my home as surplus. Now I have 30 kg. This 20 kg, this is a artificial surplus demand. It's not with me, it's with everybody. You must be buying from the market as a home delivery is there. Just ask yourself, are you not ordering more what you require?
Right.
We have to accept. Yes. So that demand is created. Like that, it is not created in India only. It is created all over the world. Means I am talking about the exports. That in exports also that demand is being created. Now, if you talk that you say Iran problem is there, Mr. Jay Kumar Gupta is there. He is sitting. He is #1 in Iran exports. You ask him also that how much it is affecting. If you tell us that we are depending much on Iran, every year our export volumes are rising both in quantities and money wise also. So of course for Iran some phases come when the payments are not existing, but once it starts coming, it is in huge volume, very huge volume. Secondly, now this season which is now going on, most of the exporters, they have exhausted their stocks of paddy. Very few exporters may have. Now what exporters are doing, they are taking unfinished rice from the open market. They are so taxing this rice, and then they are packing and sending it. So you can say that demand of rice is already existing there because exports is not affected. You yourself in presentation says that there will be a moderate increase in the basmati rice exports. This means at least that level, what was previously, that level is being maintained. If we say there will not be any growth of exports, let it remain the same as of the previous year. So what I mean to say, I say that it is not going to affect the basmati exports particularly, and non-basmati exports, if you speak that the people purchasing power, some of the panelists have said that people purchasing power has reduced in countries like Saudi Arabia or Iraq or some other country. I fully agree with him. I fully agree. But everybody needs food. Everybody needs rice. That is their staple food. If they can't buy good quality of rice, of course they will buy the non-basmati rice because they need that. Of course, by this the value of exports will go down because non-basmati rice comparatively is a cheaper rice. But I think quantity wise it will be okay. But let it be value wise, it will be lesser. But again, you see, it is a blessing in disguise. Blessing in disguise means we exporters, we were sitting, we are exporting to Iran. We have a lot of buyers in Iraq. We have a lot of buyers in Saudi Arabia. Fine. Mr. Sethi has a lot of buyers in Europe and US. That is also fine. Now, this will push us to explore more markets. We'll be searching for more markets because Unless we search for more markets, how we replenish that value of the export which we have been doing? So it is a sort of blessing in disguise also. So here I finish up my.
So, Mr. Sharma, I will come back to you in terms of what strategies the group or the panelists here. In fact, we have some of the largest rice exporters on the panel. So we'll ask each one of them then in terms of how are you going to address to those opportunities. But at this stage, I would like to swing to the other spectrum, which is I want to like to go to Mr. Keval Singla, General Manager, Punjab National Bank, which is one of the largest banks in India. So you heard the panelists, they've discussed, in fact, Piyush also highlighted the issues related to the credit side as well. At this stage, how are you looking at the sector from as a banker? How comfortable are you at the sector? I guess that is what everyone would like to hear. And how are you devolving the various schemes what the government has announced for, the sectors, including the rice sector here? So over to you, sir.
As far as Corona is concerned and rice industry is concerned, prior speakers have already clarified, and I'm also of the same view that Corona has not impacted much, especially the rice industry, because demand has not gone down, or rather artificial demand hoarding has taken place. Of course, some restaurants, marriages are not happening, restaurants are not opening, but that is fully compensated by demand from domestic sector. People have done panic buying also. As far as exports are concerned, of course, Iran, somebody mentioned Iran, of course, there was initially a spike in Corona cases also after China. I think Iran was the second country to see spike even before Italy and Spain and Europe. But I think problem for Iran is more of a US sanctions and payment issues and non-availability of currency. That is not directly related to Corona. As far as rice industry is concerned, procurement season at the time of Corona was already over, so it didn't have any impact on procurement. As far as production is concerned, there was no stoppage of essential activities, and rice mills were working fully. Of course, there may be some disruption, and that is now new normal for the Indian industry and the commerce. We can see, of course, the disruption somebody was talking about, unforeseen disruption we can experience and we can foresee at any moment of time. Today itself, I had to order guidelines for closing one of my branch in Sonipat district. All of a sudden, we had to close the branch due to one Corona positive case. That is the new normal now. That has become the part of life. As
So
far
what
as,
is the, sorry, sir, what is the exigency plan in such kind of things? Like, for example, again, a lot of issuers are listening to this webinar. So in case your branch is closed down, what are the steps the customers can then focus on? Can they approach the resume office?
in such circumstances, normally we don't close the branch for a long period. For example, that branch we have closed for today and directed the customers to some nearby branches for today. And tomorrow onward, we would be operating that branch with different staff, not previous staff. Staff we have intermingled, we have changed staff for a few days. The staff from other branches who had not come in contact with that Corona positive case, in circumstances, we are doing like that. As far as government scheme, coming to funding, government has come out with very, I think, good guidelines. 20% across the board, of course, not for big exporters, but for MSME borrowers, up to with borrowing up to 25 crore. 20% is the limit we are giving. Government is granting. I think that breather, moreover, breather from paying interest for a period of 6 months. In addition to this 20% government has granted, there has been announced a moratorium for payment of interest on all, including big borrowers. 6 months moratorium from March, April, May, June, July, August. The entire interest will become due in next quarter. September onwards, it will be divided into 6 installments. So quite a big relief for those who had some negative impact on their cash flows. The bank is offering not only to rice industry but all the industry, and government has given this its support. Banks are implementing it. We are guiding our customers to avail those benefits. But as far as rice industry, my viewpoint, it is highly funding intensive, leverage is very high. But at the same time, it may seem unpalatable to some of the rice millers. This industry has been marred by unscrupulous practices by some of the players in the past. Of course, as the Darwin theory of survival of the fittest goes, some such unscrupulous elements are already now out of the market. So they created artificial competition also.
We have
No,
lost
they
your
are out
audio.
of.
We can't hear you. We lost your audio.
Hello, you're not getting. Hello.
Your voice is clear. I'm hearing. Yeah. Please carry on.
Okay, okay. Okay, but some, what I was saying, that some unscrupulous elements started over trading. In fact, of course, it was fueled by availability of abundant funding of avenues, including WHR funding. But I think industrialists, rice millers especially, and their association, they would have to evolve some sort of self-discipline mechanism. Uh, because banks have been a little reluctant for increasing the exposure in the rice industry because of very big hits we got in rice industry, very big names, big, small, and medium, all rice millers. In fact, in our area of Canal area, we have suffered so badly. So, so a few, we can say, a few black sheep, they have tarnished the image of the industry also. So the industry bigwig and they would have to devise some mechanism to keep to, and of course self-discipline and educate the people not to divert. It all most of it happened due to diversion, of course, diversion and.
So at this stage, I would like to come to a very interesting question. Sir, are you now started seeing new applications in terms of enhanced working capital limits
Yes.
and also in terms of the application to the new schemes which is announced by the government?
New scheme, rather, we are going to the borrowers to get the application. We are calling them.
Sure.
Not only
And
getting,
I
we are
guess,
calling them for.
yeah, you mentioned about the concern on the leverage in the sector, but one of the thing is also that the working capitals will increase as we move forward. So I'm sure banks are geared up for that, and the relevant schemes are available for the issuers to look for that scheme. At that in this stage, sir, I would like to move to Piyush, my colleague on the panel. Piyush, Mr. Singla just mentioned about the high leverage in the sector, and given that many of the players have used the moratorium period, and of course the compensated interest for that moratorium will get started being adjusted from the end of 6 months. So how do you see the credit metrics there? Do you expect the credit profile of the issuers to have an impact on the ratings, or are you watchful? That is a message I would like you to share with the audience. Piyush.
If we talk about this sector, we saw a lot of upgrades during FY19 because FY19 was a very good period for rice industry. We saw very good numbers during FY19. In FY20, the exports impacted very badly, though the domestic consumption was still at that same pace. So we have not seen much. We are not expecting much upgrades based on the FY20 balance sheets. If we're talking about the leverage, yes, in some companies are very high. I've also mentioned that the coverage ratios also remains very low in this sector because they have to hold up, they have to build the inventory, considering the aging of that is required is there. So as I mentioned in my presentation also, we expect that in the last 2 quarters, once the demand will revive from the exports, so these companies will definitely show a good numbers in terms of turnover. Though margins will going to hit because of the input cost which has risen due to this COVID situation. But otherwise, we see a decent growth. And in terms of rating upgrades and downgrades, we expect the ratings will remain stable in most of the companies. We are not expecting any downgrades more.
Well, thanks, Piyush, for that insight. I'd like to again move back to Mr. Gupta. Now that we have discussed the issues in the sector, what we have seen, and also we've heard from the banker in terms of that they also see the sector more or less stable. How do we move forward from here? What is the expectation, and how are you seeing the life changing from here in terms of both domestic demand as well as export demand, and also issues like, for example, logistics issue. Again, not all states have opened up. You are facing border issues in some of the states as well. There is a huge unaddressed problem of the labor, where this is again going to span out post monsoons. So how do you see all these issues spanning out, and what is your expectation from the sector, sir?
First of all, and I want to add what the Mr. Sharma said. Mr. Sharma has given his view in the detail about the export market and domestic market. But one thing we should know about the Iran market, there is a cycle of the demand. One season they buy more, and next season they buy less. And if we see the 3 years last history, in 2017-18, they bought from us 8.25 lakh metric ton. And in 2018-19, they bought 14.73 lakh metric ton. And this season, current season, in the last season, there was a decrease of 2 lakhs metric ton. So there is the cycle. One season they buy less, and next season they buy more. There is no need to be panic in this scenario that the demand may come less in the coming season. We hope in the coming season, in this season, the demand may come more from that country. But there is an issue on the currency allocation, payment mechanism, how the payment will be made, what route would be followed. These things to be resolved and to be yet to be cleared, not sure. However, the country consumption point of view, because it's the largest market for us. If you see the last 5-6 years history, and if we see the combined ratio, there is a consistent demand from that country. But one season it may go down, then the next season that may go up. But if we combine it all and we see there is a consistent demand. That's the one thing about that. And the next thing about the banking sector has declared many incentives, many schemes. But one thing is concerning for the large scale companies. There are the many large scale companies which are doing good branding sales. And in this current scenario, their overheads in comparison to the before COVID-19 has gone up. And if you see these all incentive has not been remarkable for the large scale companies. And we request to the bank if they can see some mechanism or discuss at the top authority and the government to the concerned, if they can set up sometimes some type of incentive for the large scale companies also. And if we see the competitiveness, maintaining the hygienic conditions, maintaining their supply, logistics, all these overhead expenses has gone up significantly. So we request to the bank to go through that and see something what can be done for the large scale companies. Secondly, the government has changed the definition of the MSME also. We are not sure about the new definition, and it's also going to affect the rice mills company. So how we can get the benefit of these schemes? Bankers and the millers, our association, they should sit together and think how the things can be resolved further.
Sure. So you, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Logistics point of view, as far as the logistic is concerned, there is not much issue, but there is a big issue of the labor, mainly the labor at the ports. And if you see at the main port, Kandla and Mundra port, more than 70% labor has been gone. There is a great difficulty for us to pack the rice and ship the rice in current scenario. Now, The government is, what we see, the government is forcing the government sectors. They are much keen to shift the labor. They are giving them incentive, free tickets, fooding to go to their villages. Now we request to the government, and if it can be done, their district authorities and the millers, exporters, agency port, CHA should sit together, should see what's the difficulties with the labor, and on the what and it can be sorted out and resolved, and how by taking the what measures we can retain the labor by considering their security, considering their uh, and what kind of facilities and we can provide them jointly.
Sure.
This need to be looked at.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mr. Gupta, for the views. I've just got a question from the audience, and a very relevant question, which is about the innovation from the sector. So I would like to, move to Mr. Sharma. One of the questions is that, again, what we've heard from the Honorable Prime Minister as well in terms of self-reliance, and also in the past, the cause of Make in India. I guess one of the things which we haven't seen is the dominance of Indian basmati rice in terms of finished products or in terms of a processed product in for consumption into the other markets. Now, just to draw an analogy, like how Australia has put oats as a staple product in breakfast item for almost everyone across the world. We haven't done that kind of a marketing activity for basmati, wherein basmati, like for example, instant noodles can be used as a instant food or instant. In fact, given the whole idea of work from home, we are actually getting less time to cook, honestly speaking. So, are we talking about, or is the industry thinking about, Mr. Sharma, about innovations and adding such kind of new thoughts and new products to make the rice as a staple food, again, because there are a lot of nutrition in the cereal, and it is one of the main source of energy as well. So is the association or the group of exporters like yours thinking on separate lines where we can make it more palatable to the world or to the world plate? So are there any thoughts or any messages on that front, sir?
Mr. Nair, honestly speaking, very honestly speaking, we are not prepared for that. We are not prepared for that. We must accept this truth. What we are doing and we have been doing is pushing the basmati rice or non-basmati rice to some extent. We are exporting to other countries. And we are not doing such type of innovations like, as you have quoted, noodles or some other supplementary food which are made of rice. Of course, in domestic, we are doing something that too, perhaps we are not adding value additions. What only we are doing, our product, whatsoever is left of the very inferior quality, we use it in, you can say, country liquor. We are using this in some other formats where, but we are not adding any value addition while selling this in the domestic market. And I told you that the export markets, we have not done. All my friends are sitting, all senior people. You ask if any company, any exporter has exported any such item which is made of rice, value addition has been done, some supplementary has been done. I think perhaps everybody will say in big and bold letters, and no.
So is it not the right time to think about that? Because we have a huge opportunity in front of us. And as you have also seen from the reports as well, world is looking to change their center of production from China to rest of the parts of the world. So in this aspect, don't you think so? There's a big opportunity for us.
What you say is correct, but let that position comes when lot of industries being shifted from China to India. Of course, we are very much optimistic, but let us not be over optimistic. I'm telling you, it's not a very easy thing that on one day or within a week, the all industry will come and they will shift to India. It is not a small thing. And we do have our own, you can say, weaknesses. That red tapeism is there, that license design is there. Of course, we say, yes, we have finished it off, but it's not like that. To some extent, it might have been finished it off. It might have been reduced, but not to 100%. So it may take time. It will take a lot of time. Only then what you say may be possible.
Sure. Sure. I guess, before we end the session, I would like to give the last word to the banker on the panel, sir. Sir, again, the focus is back to you in terms of, because at the end of the day, this sector is dependent hugely on credit as well. So how do you see, how do you see the entire credit chain or the underwriting practices shifting? And what are the key concerns you would like to leave to the panel and as well as the audience that they should be aware of? How are you doing, or how are you mitigating such issues?
First of all, I would reply what Mr. Gupta had told and requested bankers to take up with government. I think most of his issues are in their industry level issues, which their industry association can take up with the government. As far as banks are concerned, pricing is concerned, for exports, pricing is very attractive. Pricing is not very high. As far as definition of change of definition, it will definitely give benefit to some new rice millers which earlier were not within the ambit of MSME. Whereas our funding practices are concerned, there is no change. Of course, due to big hit, rice industry was last year declared under unfavorable category. So it is not unfavorable, but it is still marginally unfavorable, now, one notch above unfavorable now these days. Provided, given the, I had requested, given the self-discipline, I can, at this forum, I can only request the rice millers to have some self-discipline so that banks may not have to close the option, or banks may not have to restrict funding to this sector. We have been very vocal, very optimistic in this sector. Our food processing industry, we were giving special incentives, special rate of interest for rice and other food processing. Of course, those have been a little bit curtailed due to, risk return always go side by side. Having hit hard, definitely we had to curtail some unnecessary, or we can say, not unnecessary, uncontrolled funding. Earlier, what rice millers used to say, double funding. Those who have failed, they resorted to double funding. Got cash credit limits from us. Entire amount they used as margin money. Got WHR funding, double funding, diverted the money. That, in fact, that caused the banks to declare the industry as unfavorable. So I would request the rice millers to self-discipline, to educate their members. Of course, there are two types of rice millers, in fact. One category is very good, very highly liquid, highly sought after. For those industries, even still, we go after them. We request them to avail. But there is some other category who says, give us whatever amount you want to give. So there, that has to be narrowed down. For this, bankers as well as millers have to work together. That I can say.
Sure. So I guess that's a very interesting note to end on. I've seen a lot of questions from the audience, which I believe has already been answered. For example, one of the questions was related to the offsetting of demand from the hotel restaurants business, which Mr. Sharma has already answered in terms of what is happening on that front. Other questions on the demand on basmati rice, again, those has been addressed. So if there are any other questions and you would like to ask our panelists, feel free to write to us. You can write to us at investordesk@brickworkratings.com. As said earlier as well, for reaching out to us or to get tuned on latest credit and trends, please log on to www.brickworkratings.com, India's third largest rating agency. And we will like to thank all our panelists to take out this time and share with their thoughts and issues related to the sector, which is very important, given the times what we have. And also tough times ahead, I know, we are all, but as a nation which is rising out of this, black window what we have seen, I'm sure, things will be left behind and there are better days ahead. With those optimistic sentences and words, I would like to again thank each one of you to come on the panel as well as attend this webinar. And I look forward to meeting on the next series, next episode of the various issues which we're going to discuss. Thank you and namaskar to everyone.